I'm Max Sterling, welcome to LarpGasm. Today I'm going to show you how to upcycle one of these cheap dollar store eye patches into something truly seaworthy. Because one thing you know, if you wear one of these for LARP or cosplay or stage, you can't see out of them. But we're going to aim to fix that and get this thing looking fantastic for you. So let's get started. Now, we all know that the eye patch is an iconic part of a pirate costume. If you're going to have anything, the tricorn hat, the eye patch. Tricorn hats, sometimes tough to find, often expensive for a nice one. So a lot of people go with just the skull cap, which is essentially a do-rag. And if you make one of these tunics, like I show you how in my videos, you can have a basic pirate costume. But the eye patch, definitely a necessity. So this eye patch, you know, I picked this up in either the party aisle or after Halloween on sale. I think I got a 10-pack for $1. And this may be cool for Tommy's 6-year-old birthday party at Chuck E. Cheese, but this is not going to fly for your costume wherever you're using it at. So we're going to take this cheap eye patch and make it into something phenomenal. And first thing you want to do is get yourself the eye patches. The next thing you're going to need to find is one of these sort of hooded mask that you can see through, or a very thin fabric that you can actually see through if you look through it. Now this whole mask, there is a section in the front that is made out of a very easy to see through material, but the whole hood itself you can actually see through quite easily. If you're making this for a more futuristic style LARP or something different, you could get a mask like this where you can actually see through the entire mask. And what you'll do is you'll cut yourself out a piece. Now if you're using something like this that's a plastic, you could actually just cut yourself out an eye patch and just put some strings through it and you're good to go. So that's an easy way out. So if you're playing something sci-fi, futuristic, I don't know, mutants or something, this is the easy way to go. But if we're doing something, you know, that is medieval themed or sort of along the lines of pirates, we're going to want to go with the cloth fabric. Now, I personally haven't decided whether or not I want to use this real thin material on the front that is like real easy to see through, or if I want to use the actual material itself here, which is a little harder to see through. I'm thinking that if you wear the eye patch at night, this real sort of thin fabric is the way to go. If you're going to wear it primarily just during the day, the thicker fabric would be better because you won't be able to see your eye through the thicker fabric, but the thin fabric you will. Now you're thinking to yourself, well, you know, I got a 10-cent eye patch, but you know, how much is this hood? Well, I never run you $5 or $6, but if you get it on sale after the holiday, you can probably get them for $1. And if it's something you know you're going to make and you can wait, I would suggest waiting after Halloween. If it's something you need now, well, I would get shopping and just get this stuff. You can probably pick it up online somewhere for cheap anyways. So, first step is we need to clear out the center of this eye patch. This skull and crossbones that's on here has got to go. Now, if you have a hole saw blade like this, you might be able to just have one that's wide enough to just put one hole right in the center. And even if you don't have a very large one, you can always buy one, or you could just use a small one because you only really need enough space for your eye to see through. So we might not really need to make a huge hole in this thing. But let's go ahead and start with one hole right in the center. I'm actually going to drill right through this skull's nose on here. And of course, never drill like this if you appreciate having fingers. And miraculously, we have a hole in the eye patch. Now, I should remind you that everything you see on LarpGasm is for information and educational purposes only, and at no point should you ever attempt to recreate any of the projects you see me try here. So, once you have your eye patch with the hole in it, you'll be able to put that on, and guess what? Now you can see through your eye patch. Now, the only thing I would change is if I had a larger hole saw bit, I would have made the hole a little bit larger. So you'll have to sort of guesstimate what size you need if you don't have one. Like I said, there's other ways you could do this. You could have drilled multiple little holes and then filed it out. But the important thing is, once you do have the hole in there, get a file, get some fine grit sandpaper, and get this nice and smooth. You don't want anything sharp or loose that's going to come off and go into your eye. Now, step 2 is to get a sample of this fabric. Now, as far as the mask, if you're taking it from the front here, then you're just going to destroy the mask. I mean, that's pretty much all there is to it. There's no way around that. If you're taking it from the hood itself, you may be able to get enough off the back of it or somewhere inconspicuous that you could still use this for NPCing or something. But basically, the idea is to get enough fabric to cover the entirety of the eye patch, so you end up having an eye patch that looks like this. And once you get that, you'll have an eye patch you'll be able to see through. So let's go ahead and cut a piece of this fabric off of here, and then we're going to see about affixing it to it. When you cut this piece of fabric off, you want to make sure it's large enough to cover the entire front, but it doesn't have to cover the entire back. It just needs to be large enough that it can be folded over on the back and then glued into place. So keep that in mind when you're cutting. And now we have our piece of fabric, which I use the mask for, but if you're just using fabric, you could just test some at a fabric store and then buy, you know, half a yard or a quarter yard and just cut a little corner out or a remnant or something. But if you want to use the front piece of the mask, like I said, use the mask or just buy the fabric. But now we have a piece of fabric that's big enough to go over top of this. And like I said, the finished product is going to be pretty good looking. So let's go ahead and glue this on here. Now when it comes to attaching this fabric onto here, first thing, we're going to cut this elastic off of here. Now if you want to use the elastic, that's fine. You can just cut the little end off or untie the knot on the end and set it aside to reuse. But the elastic's not very genre, so we're going to lose that anyways for this particular one. And it's going to make it a lot easier to glue this on here. Now, you want to make sure you pick a glue that is not going to cause you problems around your eye, so nothing that is going to emit any sort of vapor or fumes. I'm going to use hot glue for this one, but you may want to use spirit gum, or if you have some sort of glue that you would use to put on prosthetics or something, you may want to use that. But for this, I'm just going to use hot glue because it's fast and it's easy. And this is something that I would only be wearing in very limited capacity. So if you're only going to wear it, you know, up and down on, you know, short term, I think hot glue would be fine. You know, it's not going to come loose if you're just wearing it, you know, once or twice. If it's something you're going to wear all the time, like at a week-long or a weekend event or something, then I would probably research a different type of adhesive for this, or maybe even find a completely different way of attaching this. Maybe use rivets or something interesting. But we're going to hot glue this on. Now, because we only cut a little hole in the middle, almost the entire structure is still intact. We didn't cut out the whole section. So this gives us a lot of area to glue to. Now you can put glue on the front of it if you want to, if it's a thin glue, and that may be all you want to do, and then you could just cut the edges. I am going to actually fold it over and glue it on the inside though. And once we have the fabric hot glued on there, you have something that looks like this, and you can see the back of it's not so pretty, but the front of it is uniform and covered. Now there might be a slight divot where that hole is, but hey, it is what it is. If someone gets real close on you, if you're taking a very extreme close-up photo, you might notice, but even from this distance, I don't think you can tell, but I can see you. So one additional modification I made was I drilled the holes a little bit larger that the string goes through, because we're losing that elastic. Now I have a nice sort of like little linen here that I could use to, you know, tie this on, but I also have this leather, which I think I'm going to use. Even though it's not black, I think that it fits the aesthetic better. So I'm going to cut myself a length that I feel is going to be long enough for what I need to do here. And then from there, we're just going to need to poke some holes where the existing ones were. And depending on how you glued this, you may need to add a little bit more glue so that the fabric doesn't come apart from there. But if you glued it pretty well, you shouldn't have to do that. Let me go ahead and poke some holes in here and then tie this on here and we'll see how it looks. And we have our holes poked in. Now this may need a little bit of persuasion to go through the holes, but we go through the back because we're going to tie little knots on the front. If you have a needle or a pair of scissors or something, you can use that to help sort of coax this through. If you're using something thinner than this, you may be able to just actually thread it through a needle and put it through that way. So I'm going to use this needle to sort of push this through. And hopefully you left yourself enough length. If you didn't, you might need to cut a larger piece, but you need enough space to put at least one knot in the end of this. I would suggest one good knot, and if you need to, a dab of some sort of glue on there to make sure that that never comes loose, and then pull it back through. Alright, and once you have the second one through, then you're just going to take and put on your head. Make sure that you have, if you're going to wear a skull cap or something or whatever else, make sure you have it in the right position, because once you tighten this, that's going to sort of be where it sits. Make sure that you can see out of it with your eye also, and then pull it, you know, fairly tight. Now this will loosen up a little bit over time, so that's what I'm saying, make it, you know, a little tight but not uncomfortable. If you have a marker, you may want to mark it at this point in time, and that way you know exactly where to get that knot at. So this is where we're going to want this at for me. And there you go. Now you're going to want to trim up these ends to whatever length you feel looks aesthetically pleasing. You may want to leave, you know, some little tails on there. You may want to cut them down real flush. It's entirely up to you. I'm going to leave just a little bit on there. And here would be our finished product. An upscaled pirate eye patch from a dollar store piece of trash to an aesthetically pleasing piece. And just to prove that I can see through it, I'll close this eye. And how many fingers be I holding up? 3. Because I can see through it. So that was the whole goal, to make an eye patch that we can see through, but it also looks much better now. Let me do a close-up for you. And you can see now we have fabric covering the entire eye patch so it looks uniform, and with this piece of leather or suede as a strap now instead of the elastic, it fits the period. And I can definitely see right through this, no problem. Now I would have made the hole a little bit bigger, like I said, so I would have had more peripheral vision, because from here over is perfectly fine, but I lose a little bit of my left peripheral vision, which would probably not be that great in combat, but for anything else it's not a problem, I don't feel. And as far as fighting during the daytime and good lighting, don't think it'd be a problem, but if you're going to fight at night, I would suggest using the fabric from like the front of those masks, because you can see right through it. However, that you may be able to see an eye a little bit more, but on this, I'm not sure you can even see my eye at all in there, which is phenomenal. I really hope you enjoyed this video. I really feel that eye patches add an awesome aesthetic piece to any genre, whether it's post-apocalyptic, medieval fantasy, pirates, cyberpunk, or anything in between. It's just that I feel a lot of people are turned off by the idea because they don't want to lose vision in one of their eyes. And I totally get that, especially if you're fighting or if you need to walk around on a stage and you don't want to fall off. I totally get that. However, this project completely negates any of that. And this eye patch was 10 cents. It was in a bag of 10 for $1. That hood was $1 on clearance after Halloween. I could make 10 of these for $2, and so can you. Even if you had to buy the stuff at full price, you could have this awesome looking eye patch for probably $7, and it is fully functional. Okay, so a couple minutes of your time, a couple dollars, excellent addition. I hope you found the video useful. If you did, please click like, please subscribe to my channel. You can click the little bell icon to let you know whenever I get new videos posted, which is weekly. And if you really enjoyed the video or it helped you immensely, consider donating to me through Ko-Fi to help me fund these videos. And you can also become a patron of my channel if you want to support what I'm doing here. But if you don't want to do either of those, just let all your friends know that I'm here making this awesome LARP content and have them check me out. And of course, as always, adventure on.